don't ever speak for me. Don't ever use me. We are not the same. We've proven this many times over. We are not the same. We don't come from the same cloth. And so I would like you to don't claim you sort of like, well, one of our hosts. I'm not, there's no our. There's no our. This is not a weird you speaking for Anna. You guys are the same person, Tweedledee, Tweedledum type situation. Okay. I am a me. You can call me by my name. My name is Francesca.
What is up, everyone? As you can see from Francesca, she is already buzzing. And in this clip, we're going to be covering Francesca recently reacting to some comments made by Cenk Uygur, where he was discussing her stance on trans athlete in sports. And let's just say Francesca did not take kindly to it. And as mentioned, she'll be reacting to Cenk's remarks, and she is not going to be holding back. Especially near the end of this clip, she's going to be making some crazy remarks. So let's just get into this clip without spoiling anything. And of course, we'll be giving you my unfiltered take as we go through it.
So some on the left, I mean, one of our hosts, Piers Morgan, asked her, so are you okay with Leo Messi playing in women's sports? And by the way, he said in the most extreme way, if he declared himself a woman tomorrow, even without hormone therapy or anything.
Doesn't work. First of all, that's not what happened. You guys just saw what happened, right? He said if Lionel Messi tomorrow, he didn't say without hormone therapy. I said if he transitioned, caveat, if he transitioned, yes.
I'm telling you, I could give you 19 different studies that show it's not effective.
So first of all, my opinion is, are you nuts? Like if you put Messi in, he'd score 20 goals a game. If you put LeBron in the WNBA with or without hormones, he'd score 200 points a night.
Okay. I'm sorry. This is full disclosure here. I like men's soccer. Okay. I watch men's soccer. And I don't support women's soccer as much as I should. I just want to be honest with that, okay? I just gonna be completely 100%. Like, I've seen, like I haven't seen a Galaxy game, but I'm not a big sports person, number one, but I love soccer. I love Argentine soccer, especially. I like the World Cup, all that. I have watched US women's champions. What are we, 4, 5-time champions? Nobody fucking cares. Every time the US women's soccer team wins yet another World Cup, we don't talk about it. We don't herald it. We judge them because they, did something against Trump or they knelt for the national anthem. That's the only time we talk about women's sports, or because we want to make Caitlin Clark some sort of, white damsel in distress against a bunch of black, WNBA players. That's the only time we talk about women's sports, is when we're trying to be low-key racist or sexist about it.
All right, really interesting point by Francesca that she's making here, and I think it's one worth unpacking. She's basically highlighting how women's sports often only gets attention when there's some kind of controversy, or when the media can frame it in a way that plays into racial or gender stereotypes. I mean, a great example of this is the US women's soccer team, who has won multiple World Cups, but instead of celebrating their dominance, the conversation usually often shifts to whether they knelt during the anthem or how they've spoken out politically. Another great example is when Caitlin Clark, who is a standout woman in basketball to be honest, makes headlines. It's often framed as some kind of racial or gender conflict rather than focusing on just her talent. I think the point that Francesca is trying to make, and I do somewhat agree, is that this kind of coverage undermines women's sports and reduces these athletes to just basically pawns in a larger cultural debate. I think it is a valid critique, and it also sort of raises the question that I think is also important to ask, which is, why can't we just celebrate women's sports for what they are? Just an athletic competition without dragging it into all of this extra baggage. Of course, you guys can let me know your thoughts in the comments below, but this is just the first point. Let's get into the others.
But the idea that Lionel Messi would score 20 points, 20 goals if he played in the US women's team, like what? Like a friendly, is bullshit. I'm sorry. Like, do you know how many points are scored in soccer generally? Do you understand how they work? I'm not saying he wouldn't do well. I could see him getting like 6 off 20. What do you like? This is like so stupid. Like, who do you think the women's team are? Do you think like female athletes just aren't good athletes? Because I'm starting to feel like you think female athletes aren't good athletes.
Okay, and you could, and I've read the studies. They always say, "Oh, there's studies," and they never read them. Then they got to the absurdity of Floyd Mayweather going into women's boxing if he declares himself a woman. Do not say yes to that. Do not say yes to that, because they're going to hurt someone. And when they do,
Right.
you're going to lose the country even
100%.
more. Then you're not protecting trans rights. You're walking them backwards.
Oh my god. Oh my god. So imagine, guys, imagine if I had said, "Yes, I think Messi should transition, and I think that Usain Bolt could transition and play and in, women's sprinting, but I don't think Floyd Mayweather." And I was honest about that. I've said before that I should have said the joke, Floyd Mayweather shouldn't transition because he's hit enough women in his life, and that was a total missed opportunity. But if I was like, "Yeah, no, you're right. No, you're right. Yeah, not Floyd Mayweather. I mean, okay, but just not in boxing. Like every other sport, but like not boxing. Because like women are like fragile and stuff, and like they can't do that. What would it look like as someone who believes women are absolutely capable of boxing? What would it look like as someone who absolutely believes trans people should play in sports? What would it look like argumentatively to say 3 out of the 4 examples you are bad faith lobbing at me, I think could play as a trans woman, but this 4th one shouldn't? Cenk thinks I should have not said that? Like, that's so fucking dumb. On every level, that's dumb. It's morally wrong, it's argumentatively wrong, it's politically wrong.
Alright, so basically what she's reacting to is Cenk's criticism of her stance on trans athlete in sports, and she's not holding back. Francesca's argument is essentially this: Cenk thinks she should have avoided taking a strong position on the issue to avoid giving the right wing any ammunition. But she's calling that approach out as not just weak, but fundamentally flawed. Her point is that capitulating to bad faith arguments doesn't actually solve anything. It just emboldens the people making those arguments. And I don't think she's wrong. If you're constantly trying to appease the other side, whether you're on the right or on the left, by watering down your stance, you're not standing for anything. I think it's also a reflection of a larger debate happening on the left. Do you try to meet people in the middle, or do you stand firm on your principles and call out bad faith arguments for where you see them? If you're constantly compromising, you're not really fighting for anything. Now, that's not to say I agree with the points that she's covering or she's arguing for, but I think this idea is very true on both sides.
And we're talking about a hypothetical, and this is the problem, is like there are people, and I think like John Idarola, our good buddy, is one of them, who we argue this, and I don't take this tack. We argue this tack on, hey, you're using a hypothetical for a population that is about, point whatever 0.3% trans athletes, right? We're talking about less than a percentage point. Why are you distracting us with these issues? Why are you throwing up these hypotheticals? This is all meant as a massive distraction and as a way to dehumanize, a population. Like that's a fine way to take it. But where I take it is, nah, man, I stand with trans people being able to play in sports. I see that you're doing a bad faith hypothetical, but I also stand with them. Even if you weren't doing a bad faith hypothetical, I would still stand with them. Do you know what I mean? It's a 2 different tacks here. So, but Cenk thinks that no, we gotta give them a win because then they're gonna stop coming. If I say that trans women shouldn't participate in collegiate or higher level of sport, they're gonna stop there. They didn't. They just didn't. Trump's executive order applies to all people. When we're talking children included, we're talking about high schools, we're talking about elementary schools. This is all people. These are the athletic bans that are coming down in red states across this country. They are for all. Specifically, they're focused on children. So Cenk's line up until this point has been, no, it's at the collegiate level and above. I think once you get to the college level and above, that's when it's bad. So he would be on board with what the NCAA said recently. But you're so dumb. You're so dumb. I don't even know how to explain it to you anymore. Unless, this is the other option, unless you also are a transphobe. You know what I'm saying? Unless you also are kind of a misogynist. Unless you also are like, yeah, man, men just kind of like can rock on women, you know what I'm saying? Like they strong and like Messi would score 20,000 points. Like, this makes no sense. No one is giving you props. No one is giving. And this is the same person who told me that as long as they're deporting the criminal undocumenteds, that's all hunky dory. Laughed in my face about there ever being any kind of detention camps. Hello, Guantanamo. Capitulates to the right wing framing that Venezuelan gangs from Tren de Aragua are taking over everywhere and we've got to get rid of them. Meanwhile, they're innocent Venezuelans being held in Guantanamo right now. What has it got you? What did it get you when you go and fucking share a stage with Dr. fucking Phil? What did it get you? Nothing. You know why? Because you look like a bitch. You know what I'm saying? You look like a bitch. That's what it is. Like, that's just what it comes down to. You don't look like a fighter. You don't look smart. You look like a bitch. That's just the reality. I've tried to tell it to you nicely. I've tried to tell it to you cordially. I've tried to tell it to you on your show, on my show, on every show. And so either you A, are a bitch, or B, you actually agree with the right. And I'm starting to think, in fact, I do think it's the latter. And again, it's okay to be a centrist. It's okay.
Well, she definitely didn't hold anything back with the ending of this clip. Again, I think she still has a point. Cenk is one of those people that just is too afraid to actually make a complete strong stance, and I think is more of a pragmatist than he is anything else. Now, I'm not sure if he actually supports the right, as Francesca is claiming, but I definitely do think he is more of a centrist, someone who can see both sides and argues for both sides. But this was a very important clip that I did want you guys to see and check out. As always, I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts down in the comments below about the points being made in this, generally the clip as a whole. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. Be sure to give us a like and subscribe, and we'll see you guys in the next one.